Chapter 19, none to underestimate the power of underwear. George Howell begged Melvin to use his superpowers to save the day, but Melvin continued to refuse. Finally, Underpants stepped in. "You may have taken away my superpowers," the Wasteman Warrior said, "but I still have the power of underwear on my side, and nobody can take that away from me." Underpants turned and ran toward the airport. "Melvin," cried George frantically, "if you don't do something, those butchers are gonna kill Mr. Crump." "That's not my fault," said Melvin. "You're the ones who wrote that stupid comic book about me. Now change it around." George and Harold looked at each other. Their choice was simple: either fight with Underpants and probably die, or give in to the dark side and live. The two boys turned and ran to the airport. Chapter 20, Booger Brunch. George and Harold quickly caught up with Underpants. Soon they were all at the airport witnessing the carnage of the ridiculous robo-boogers. Underpants shouted out, "Drive it, troll off!" from below. Suddenly, the three robo-boogers turned toward the familiar-sounding voice. Quickly, their laser-guided eyeballs zoomed in on the three of the heroes who had made their life so miserable back in Chapter 1. Immediately, the robo-boogers leaped at George, Harold, and Underpants, and the chase was on. Again. Chapter 21, Cornered. The robo-boogers continued chasing George, Harold, and Captain Underpants until at last the three fine friends were cornered at a local shopping center. In a desperate attempt to save themselves, the three brave heroes began taking items from the outside sales bins and throwing them at the snarling beast. George grabbed a pair of low-fat tennis shoes and tossed them at Trixie. Trixie gobbled them up. Harold found a delicious tube of wild cherry-flavored hemorrhoid ointment and flung it at Frankenbooger. Frankenbooger swallowed it whole. See, I changed it a bit. Once more. Anyway, Underpants picked up a genetically modified organic Underpants picked up a genetically modified organic orange-flavored orange and chucked it at Carl. Carl chewed it up with a smug grin. Suddenly, Carl's laser eyes grew incredibly large. The haughty smile on his face turned into a panicked gasp as the wet, gushy snot that covered his body began to dry up and crumble. Huge, crispy booglets shot out of his smoldering robotic exoskeleton like green popcorn. "What's going on?" cried Harold. "It's the oranges," said George. "It's got to be the vitamin C in these oranges. It's combating the colon flu that causes those boogers to turn evil." Carl thrashed around brutally as more and more of his disintegrating body cracked off and fell to the ground. Finally, the lights in his panic-stricken laser eyes slowly went out. He stumbled over and crashed horribly into the parking lot. Carl was dead. Vitamin 22. Vitamin see you later. George held the Underpants quickly began chugging oranges at Trixie and Frankenbooger, but the two remaining robo-boogers had gone wise to the power of vitamin C. They ducked, jumped, dodged, and darted, doing whatever they could do to avoid being hit by the deadly oranges. "Hey, I got an idea!" he said to Underpants. He grabbed two crates of oranges and ran out while George continued flinging fruit ferociously. "Where does he think he's going?" said George. "I don't know," said Harold, "but his idea better work. Run out of oranges." Soon, George and Harold were down to the last two oranges. They threw them as hard as they could, but alas, the poem projectiles missed their terrifying targets. Trixie and Frankenbooger grabbed George and Harold and dangled them above their gigantic mouths. "Well," said George, "it looks like this is the end." "Yep," said George, "it was nice knowing you, pal." Suddenly, the robo-boogers heard a familiar troll coming from somewhere over on the next page. The repulsive robo-boogers dropped George and Harold and stomped over to page 130. There they found Kevin Underpants standing on top of the large novelty toilet on the roof of John's house of toilets. He was shouting "troll" and doing a very annoying dance, which made the robo-boogers very angry. Angry. Well, I know it's that angry. Anyway. Chapter 23, The Underpants Dance at Flipperama. You tried the twist, mastered the Macarena, figured out the fucking I don't know what any of those are. Now it's time to learn the most annoying dance ever. The Underpants Dance. It's sure to irritate parents, teachers, evil villains, and kids of all ages. Just follow the easy steps in this chapter and learn the Underpants Dance today. Throughout the magic of Flipperama, anyone can learn how to do the Underpants Dance. First, make sure you're wearing your underpants. Then follow the 4 easy steps illustrated on the next 16 pages. With a little bit of practice, you'll soon be the most irritating person you've ever met. Good luck! Step 1. The Wedgie Wiggle. Step 2. The Toilet Top Tango.
Do the Wedgie Wiggle!
Step 3. The Waistband Whirl. And Step 4. The Big Butt Boogie. Chapter 24, Squishies Part 2. Trixie and Frankenbooger had seen enough. They couldn't stand to watch Counterpants doing that stupid dance 1 second longer, so they pushed down on the seat of the large novelty toilet to hoist themselves up on the roof. Splat! Unfortunately for Trixie and Frankenbooger, they have been so irritated by the Underpants since they had noticed the 2 crates of oranges placed carefully under the gigantic toilet seat. When they pressed down the pressure of the toilet seat, crushed the orange crates, spraying delicious vitamin D orange juice all over their big, bad boogery bodies. George and the Counterpants watched as their monstrous arch-enemies began decomposing before their very eyes. What happened to them? Asked Counterpants. I gave them a squishy, said Counterpants. It's the latest fad. Remember the last book where they did that? Anyway, the Robo-Boogers jerked around wildly as the quickly drying snot crumbled off of their smoking robotic endoskeletons. Then after a few minutes of spinning and screaming, they slowly tumbled to the ground in 2 metallic heaps. Trixie and Frankenbooger were both dead.